Greetings, book lovers everywhere. I'm E-Train and welcome to E-Train Talks. Today, I'm honored to be joined by author, artist, and nature lover Rebekah Lowell. Today, we'll be discussing her novel, The Road to After, as well as other serious but important topics. Rebekah escaped abuse over a decade ago, and since then, she's spent her time outside and in her studio, doing what she loves. Now, I'm so glad to welcome Rebekah Lowell to E-Train Talks. Thanks for joining me today, Rebekah.
Hi, Train. Thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you.
Well, I'm thrilled that you're joining us today because I have a lot of questions and I'm just curious to know and just learn about everything that you do as an author and an artist.
Well, I'm happy to share. So yeah, you've got some great questions lined up.
Well, thank you. And I've been following Rebekah's book journey on social media, and I'm just so happy to have the opportunity to talk with her and learn about her incredible writing journey and also artist journey. So if you've not yet read The Road to After, continue listening to my interview and also check out my book review to find out why Rebekah's book is such a meaningful, beautiful, and important read. The Road to After shares the story of a mother and her two daughters' path to peace and freedom after being victims of domestic abuse for many years. A powerful story inspired by Rebekah's own personal experiences, as well as her family's awe-inspiring path to new beginnings. And now, that leads up to our first question. I know you spend a lot of time outdoors in nature. Do your nature walks inspire your work as an author and artist?
Yes, for sure. And thank you so much for your kind words about my book. I really appreciate that. Yes, I would say nature first and foremost is like, that's what inspires my work. And it also inspires like my soul. It's like, I need to spend time outside with no ceiling above me in order to feel most like myself. So if there's a period of time where I don't get to go outside, or I don't know, like we're up in Maine, the weather gets pretty bad.
Yeah.
In the winters, it can get pretty harsh. So if there's like a few days where it's just like, I'll bundle up, I'll get out there because I have to.
Yeah. Well, I certainly understand that. Just having no roof above our heads and just being outside in nature can really just give you inspiration for your writing, your art, and it's just a kind of a safe space as well. So
for sure.
Yeah, so I understand what you do.
Yeah, there's always something to look at. There's always something that sparks a question. And I feel like it's that spirit of discovery and curiosity that is just this never-ending pool of ideas. I have a hard time not having ideas instead of the other way around.
I agree. I really understand that. I have so many ideas just whirling in my head, and sometimes I might forget about other ideas because I have so many.
Yes.
So I also like to go on nature walks and just kind of be outside because it can get really, really boring and also just not really fun to be inside all the time. So just being outside in nature can really help. And
definitely. I feel like in our fast-paced world that if we don't take time to be present and notice our surroundings, we can kind of get lost. So yeah, I love that part of it too.
I do as well. And I know that you also created the beautiful cover art of The Road to After.
Thank you. I have my copy right here too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, have you designed any other book covers, or do you hope to? And also, which comes first to you, the inspiration for your illustrations or your writing?
Those are great questions. And I would love to illustrate more middle grade or middle grade book covers. I would love to. And this was my first one. And I'm so glad that I was able to do it. And as far as the art and the writing, for this book, it was the words that came first. But also, if I really think back, when I'm writing, usually I also have an image in my head. So it's kind of like this tandem back and forth relationship where I drew a little more, then I wrote a little more, and then I drew a little and wrote a little. And that's usually what happens in terms of picture books or anything else that I do too. There's usually words first, but I also have an image in mind. But I get the words out, then I kind of start sketching or thumbnailing, just messy. But I love that stage because you're just getting your ideas onto paper. And that part feels so raw and fresh that if I don't somehow get the ideas out, like in the form of an image, sometimes I lose that image because I'm writing the next part. So I kind of do it at the same time, but it's usually the words barely come first. It's very close together.
Yeah, and I can really tell that you used imagery when writing The Road to After, because I can also see images in my head, the
Mm,
images of the story and all the events that are taking place. So I can
thanks.
really tell that you see both the images and the word, they both come into your mind at the same time because
They
yeah,
do. Thanks.
I also really agree because that's kind of what I do. I have a picture and then I kind of just like when I have the right picture, I just start writing like crazy.
Hmm. Yeah, I feel like our minds are so visual, even if we're not artists. I can't speak necessarily for writers who aren't, but my thought is that possibly even those who are not artists probably see something in their mind. Linda Mullally Hunt calls it a mind movie. And
Oh
I
yeah.
think it's Fish in the Tree
Mhm.
that she says that. And that just makes so much sense to me. And that's kind of what happens like as I'm writing too.
I feel like anybody can be an artist if they kind of just try and discover something new and just try and just because art isn't just a painting or a drawing. Art is writing,
Exactly.
art is music, art can be meant is just beautiful in so many different ways.
That's so true. Yeah, just creating, even writers, they are also artists.
Yeah.
So yes, for sure. Anyone
And
who creates is.
so this question's a little bit more serious, but I think it's really important. So I read that you escaped abuse similar to what the
Mhm.
characters in The Road to After endured. And I don't wish to bring up any painful topics, but can you share if you also felt the same feelings and went through some of the same experiences as the protagonists did after escaping? For instance, were you as fearful as the mom was described to be in The Road to After?
Yes, and I don't mind sharing. So thank you for asking, and thank you for being so kind about it. And yes, I if I'm going to be any protagonist in the book, I am most like the mom. And the kids are most like the combined sort of point of view of my own two daughters. None of them are exactly us, which was a great experience to have that freedom to write from another character. But yes, I definitely relate to the mom in that story very much. And my own mother told me that when we left, I didn't come out of the upstairs bedroom at their house for about 2 weeks. And I
Wow.
don't remember that, but that's what she said. And I believe her. And she just said it took me a long time to kind of just even wander downstairs because that's what I was used to. I was used to a small space and I was used to being alone with my daughters. And they ventured downstairs before I did. They were 4 and 6 when I left. So they were very young. And I feel like kids are just so resilient and they were willing to sort of embrace the new environment that we were in much sooner than I did. Um, and the curtain part, like in the book, I don't want to give too much away, but you've read it, and so like you know how the mom just keeps closing curtains. That came from myself, like that part, and anywhere that we would go somewhere new, like an Airbnb in Virginia, or if we stopped at a hotel, one of the first things that I always did for years, and I still have to fight it, is close the curtains. Mine are closed only for now because I'm backlit if I open them, but the window to the right of me is wide open. And that metaphor of closing the world out or opening the curtains and letting the light in appeared to me pretty quickly in the book because of that resistance that I also felt from my own daughters who wanted the light. And I just kept being afraid. So they really helped me get out of that fear. So I think that my daughters and I really pulled through this together.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And us and kids like me, we are we also we're resilient and we kind of we always try to look on the bright side, and it can kind of take a little
Yeah.
bit longer with others.
Yeah.
But I can
Yeah.
also just really understand what you're going through after years of just horrible experiences. I would
Thank you.
for sure just try and close the curtains, but you also have to remember to always, because there's always a light at the end of the tunnel. You always have to
Yeah,
find that light.
for sure. And I have learned that the world isn't all bad.
Yeah.
There are so many kind people, and that's the part that I am trying to embrace now.
Yeah, and you're doing a great job, and you writing
Thank
your
you.
story. So I can really tell that you found the right people, your agent, your publisher. And I know I interviewed Nancy Polson, so I can really tell that you found the right people.
She's so great. Yes, she's amazing.
And I heard that writing a novel in verse was not your original plan for The Road to After. And originally, you were going to write a picture book, which makes sense since
Yeah.
you're such a talented and passionate artist.
Thank
Had
you.
you been a reader of novels in verse before you wrote your book? And what kinds of things did you have to do to prepare for writing a novel in verse?
So that is an excellent story. That part is so interesting because you're true. What you said is true. You're so right. It was a picture book. And I started writing it at Hollins University. There was an English class that I was taking taught by Hilary Homsey, who is also a middle grade author.
Oh.
And yeah, her books are great. Just a lot of fun. And I didn't know what I was writing at first. I just wrote in verse because that's how I write. That's how I've always written. But I met with Cece Bell, who was the writer in residence at Hollins at that time. And she looked at my first pages and she said, "You know, you're writing a novel in verse, right?" And I was like, "What? What's that?" And so she said, "Let me point you to Brown Girl Dreaming." And I read that book. And before I continued to develop my own book, I read a giant stack of novels in verse to familiar myself with the genre, with the voice, with the tone, with the white space on the page, with the sparseness of text, the design of the text.
Yeah.
And I think I'd have to look back. I have some photos and I keep book lists. It was about a dozen before I really dove back into mine. And as I was writing, I continued reading and also listening. So I just kind of absorbed novels in verse for a good year. And I still do. It's one of my favorites. Actually, I'm currently reading Rajani's book, Red, White, and Whole. Rajani LaRocca. I love this. And I just, novels in verse, I love them.
I love them too. And I've read books like Before the Ever After, Brown Girl Dreaming, Starfish, Now the Road to After. They're just so great and they all have a lot of meaning. And that's why I love novels in verse. And that's also why your novel, The Road to After, kind of spoke to me from the start, because novels in verse, I absolutely love them. The Starfish is which is by Lisa Phipps. It's one of the only books that I've read many, many times because I just can't get enough of the style of novels in verse. And also, I convinced my mom to read The Road to After, and she really loved it. So we both agree that novels in verse and The Road to After, they're great.
Thank you. Lisa Phipps also wrote a very kind blurb on the back of my book, and I'm going to send you a signed hardcover.
Oh, yeah.
That you can also have like the Lisa Phipps blurb on the back. So this will be coming your way.
Thank you. And I'm interviewing Lisa Phipps in a couple weeks, so I'm also very excited about that.
Wonderful. I can't wait to listen.
And she's also published by Nancy Polson Books. Nancy Polson does a lot of novels in verse, and I've seen that.
Yeah, Nancy's so great. I've loved working with her, and I actually can't wait to listen to your interview with her too.
Nancy is great, and I want my book to be published by her because it may be a small publisher, but Nancy's publishing books that are important, like The Road to After, Starfish, Before the Ever After, all these great novels in verse, all these great novels in general. They're amazing.
Yeah. I feel like Nancy's not afraid to take risks with tough topics and really dive into things and topics that really resonate and get you in the heart. So I feel like I found the perfect home.
Yeah, I agree. And that leads me to my next question. Do you have any plans in the works for writing more books? If so, can you share a bit, but don't spoil, about what's in store?
Sure. So I do have a second novel under consideration by Nancy at the moment, and we're working on some revisions. So I'm really excited for that because I actually love the revision process. And if you're a writer, you'll get used to it. It really helps hone the book and I don't know. I feel like revision is like shutting out the street lights so the stars can shine. So I love the revision process. I also have several picture books in the works. One about monarchs because I raise monarchs. Nothing is, well, actually, I should back up. My debut picture book is coming out March of 23 with Doubleday Books for Young Readers, and it's called Catching Flight. I'm actually painting the cover this week.
Wow.
So I'm very excited. It's all birds. So I had the privilege of painting birds all winter, and it made my winter bright and cheerful and full of hope and inspiration. So I'm working on the cover and I can't wait. So that's my first picture book. And after that, I have a bunch going. Like I said, my ideas are just too many. So I'm trying to focus on the next few. But Monarchs is the next one in queue.
Do you also do the pictures inside of the picture books? Do you also do the art for them?
Yes. So when I create a picture book, I actually make a storyboard along with the words. So I'll write the text and then I paginate it. So I divide the text to page spreads and then I start with teeny tiny drawings and then go from there with the art director. So sometimes I make a full mock-up where it's like a PDF that you can turn pages digitally and it's full of full-size sketches. And I also like to include a few color pieces so it gives an idea for what, like the vision of what the book could look like. And that's usually the stage that my agent and I will sub a picture book, is when I have the mock-up ready to flip through.
Well, I'd love to see one of those mock-ups because I've never really seen the process for picture books because I mainly review middle grade. But picture books, they're still really important to me. And they're an outlet to just like there's always hope in picture books. And that's what I love about them. And also the drawings are very beautiful.
Yeah, I love picture books as well. I go to the library and, borrow a stack for myself to look through. So, yeah.
And I've recently kind of gotten in the groove reading more and more picture books. So now I think that's a perfect time to read what's next for you.
Thanks. I can't wait to share it with you when it's ready.
Yeah, and I can't wait to read it. And what's a message that you hope your readers will take away from The Road to After or all of your upcoming books?
So I really hope that readers will feel like they are not alone, that maybe sometimes we can't control our circumstances, but we can do something about them. And whether that's a big or a small shift, even if it's just our perspective or what we're doing to like get out of it, like things that we can do to feel better. I just hope that they feel like they're not alone and that they know that well, as you said it, there's light at the end of the tunnel, that there's brighter skies ahead.
I really feel that in The Road to After because it's all about hope. That's what I think. It's all about hope and just looking for the light. And that's just a really beautiful, just great, meaningful metaphor that's highly relevant and also just appears a lot throughout The Road to After. So
Thank you. I appreciate that.
And when I share it with more people, I think that they're going to feel the same feelings as I did.
Thank you. That means a lot. And I'm glad that's what you were able to take from it.
Yeah. And if you had to choose one or the other, would you be an author, like writing all the words, or would you be an artist and create covers like the cover on The Road to After?
This was a hard question because I thought, well, if I really have to choose, I guess it would be artist because that's what I've been doing since I was super little. That's sort of how I have processed the world. I started sketching plants in a notebook and then would go back and look up what they were. But also, it's hard because I love journaling and writing poetry, and I do both so often. But I feel like, well, and I love finding just the right word. Like I really, really love the written word, but I also feel like images can say so much too.
Yeah.
So if I had to choose, I feel like I would choose art because I feel like I can convey a strong message through art, no matter what. I still can through words, but art came to me first as a child. So I guess if I had to, but I'm so glad I get to do both.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the publishing world. You can do both. And a
Yeah.
picture says 1,000 words. So I think I would also want to be an artist because, like, I think that just the beauty, and it's just remarkable what a picture can do because, like, you have a whole, it's basically, you can imagine a whole story from a picture, and those words might come to you and those words, you might see so many different variations of the same picture, the same story.
Yeah, for sure.
Although I'm not the greatest artist, I'm a little bit better. I'm a better writer at the moment, so I might choose writing. But I do like trying new techniques in art and just watching videos and trying to learn more.
That's great. Well, keep at it because it's kind of a myth. I mean, this isn't necessarily a question, but it's kind of a myth that art is just talent. I think the talent is like the desire to create, but then everything else is a skill.
Yeah.
And so if you really want to do it, you can learn it and just keep honing it, keep practicing. I try to draw every day. And that's the only way I feel like I'm good at it. And I'm still working. People are so hard for me. Like, honestly, there's still so much that I do that I'm like, oh, I hate it. And I'll just start over. So don't lose heart. Keep trying. You can do it.
Well, thank you for the advice. And that also leads me to my next question, which is actually a perfect segue. You did a great job with that. What's one piece of advice you'd give aspiring authors like me?
So it was hard to pick one. So I guess I kind of have a few. One is read, which you already do. You do a ton of reading. So read. And let's see, what were my other ones? Keep at it and don't let go of a dream that you feel very passionate about. Because at one point, this is from personal experience, I was told by the person who was abusive that I would never be published. And they tried to kind of kill that dream. They tried to not want me to do anything beyond being home. And if that's what someone wants, then wonderful. But I always wanted to create and I always wanted to be published for children. That was one of my long time dreams. And if you have that fire inside you to do it, don't let go of it, no matter what anyone else ever says. And I don't think you'll ever have anybody say that to you. But for anybody listening, if you feel discouraged by anybody at all, because the arts are hard, the arts are sometimes discouraged. And if you really feel that calling, don't lose it.
Yeah, I really agree. If anybody who has that fire, they should just keep going, keep working at it. And yeah. I'm just in awe of all that you've done. You escaped abuse, but you never lost that fire. You never lost hope. And you always wanted to do that one thing. And now you're a published author and you fulfilled your dream and you're just getting started. I know that.
Thank you. It's been really fun, to keep working at it. It's been a long road. No pun intended, but
yeah,
it's been a long road.
It has been, and now you fulfilled your dream, and yeah, you're just getting started, and the road. Yeah, I guess I'm using the same pun as well. The road is just beginning.
Yes, for sure.
Now, was there someone who inspired you to pursue art or writing?
Yes. So this one I had to keep. I took some notes in my notebook. So not one, but many people, because other than that one voice who was discouraging, everybody else around me has always been so encouraging. When I was about 14, my father, who's a home builder, made a display, and we went to an art festival together, and I sold paintings and won ribbons, and I was 14. And I just thought, like, I can do this because my parents were so supportive. They also got some of my early paintings professionally framed, which meant the world. Then as I got into high school, so I was homeschooled until I was about 15 or 16. So all of my support came from my family, and I didn't have outside teachers. My mom was my teacher. And then when I went to high school, my art teachers were very supportive, and I named him in the back of my book, one of my teachers. And then in college, all my professors. So I just feel like we are all part of the community that has lifted us up. And I feel really blessed and encouraged and lifted up by my community that has always cheered me on. So I'd say the support came, from early on from my family. And then as I met more and more people, it came from them as well.
So
I think that's so important.
It takes a whole village. And I think that, and I read all of the acknowledgments in the back of your book. I think that just having a community of great people, like, it doesn't matter what one person says, you can do this. If you have people by your side who are supporting you and with you every step of the way, you can do anything.
Definitely.
And now this brings me to one of the more fun questions I like to ask. If you were trapped on a deserted island and you could only bring one book or book series, what would it be and why?
So this one, I feel like I may be cheating a little bit. I don't know. If this isn't a good answer, let me know. But I would love to just take a notebook.
That is not the wrong answer.
Well, so all these blank pages.
Yeah.
I just feel like if I was on an island and I was stuck there for any length of time, I would be so inspired by what's around me that I would want to sketch what I see. I would want to take notes. I would want to be able to write. And I couldn't think, like, that was like the first thing that came into my mind. It's like, what would I want? A notebook, like, for sure. Like, because I carry one with me everywhere and I feel lost without a notebook. I think I'm as attached to having like a blank notebook as I am to like my phone, if not more so. So yeah, I would definitely want a notebook.
I can already see it. Rebekah Lowell's Islands Journaling. If you have like a Zoom webinar class teaching you how to sketch all the things that you see on a deserted island. It's going to be, I agree. I would bring a journal. I would bring something to write with. Maybe if I can't bring a journal, I just use a stick in the sand and write all that I see or draw.
Birch bark, if it's there. I mean, I don't know if an island has birch bark, but some kind of bark. Like, have you ever written or drawn on birch bark?
I haven't.
It's really fun. I don't know if you have birches where you are, but like, it's the type of tree that has the bark that peels like paper.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you can like scratch messages into it and stick it on a tree. It's like a survival skill thing I learned.
And I think that, well, I haven't actually tried, I've never really seen birch bark, mainly because I live in a pretty urban area. But if I do find birch bark on an island, although that might not happen, but if it does happen,
I don't know.
I'll be sure to bring a phone and watch some videos, like tutorials of how to write stories or draw on birch bark. And I think that'd be a very fun experience. Just journaling on something that's not paper.
It's really fun. I'm going to see if I can find some around here and I'll send you a piece inside the book.
That would be amazing. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And now that brings me, unfortunately, to our final question. But this is a question I really like asking because I receive many different responses from many different people. If you could be or meet any literary character, fictional or real, any time period, who would it be and why?
I didn't think too long about this. I just went with my boom, what came to mind? Beatrix Potter. And I know that sounds cliche, but I want to tell you why, because Beatrix Potter was a conservationist. And with the money that she earned from her picture books, she bought acres and acres and acres of land out from under developers who wanted to build on it. And she conserved it. And she made it into like sanctuaries basically, where the land was protected. And I would love to ask her what that moment was like when she outbid the developers in the auction house who wanted to take the land for profit, and she wanted to take the land to save it. And I would love to do that one day. If I ever have enough money, I would love to buy a lot of land and turn it over as a sanctuary. So I'd love to meet Beecher's Potter.
Thank you so much for joining me and sharing your such thoughtful answers. And I can really tell that you put a lot of thought into them. So I'm just very grateful that you joined me, that you gave me such great answers. Thank you so much for joining me. I learned so much. And to all of you listening, you can check out The Road to After. You can buy it anywhere books are sold, and you will not regret ordering it because it is just so great. It's one of the best novels in verse I've ever read. It's just so beautiful. You will love it. You need to order it, everybody. And stay safe and happy reading. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.
Thank you so much for having me.